budget will cater for this. That is why for decades, governments after governments imposed and maintained tolls on some public roads to raise funds for road construction and maintenance. This is the situation in many countries. However, over the years, the tolling point and impacted negatively on productivity. The congestion generated at the tolling points, besides creating these inconveniences, also leads to pollution in and around the vicinities. To address these challenges, government has abolished all tolls on public roads and bridges. This takes effect immediately the budget is approved on appropriation. The toll collection personnel will be reassigned. The expected impact on productivity and reduce environmental pollution will more than offset the revenue foregone by removing the tolls.
Well, the Ministry of Roads and Highways has already begun implementation of government's decision to abolish all the tolls on public roads and bridges. The Finance Minister made the announcement, as you heard, in the 2022 budget presentation to take effect on approval of the budget. But it was then followed with a statement from the Roads Ministry indicating it was to take effect immediately. And the statement is on your screen right now, where government, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, clearly indicates that. So it says, following the presentation of the 2022 budget by the Minister of Finance on behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, on Wednesday, November 17, the Ministry of Roads and Highways hereby directs the cessation of the collection of road and bridge tolls to all locations nationwide. This directive takes effect from 12 a.m. Thursday, November 18, 2021. And indeed, we've been out there to find out what the situation is. Maxwell Agbagba visited the motorway toll booth this morning, and here's what he found.
The directive from the Roads Ministry, and also as contained in the 2022 budget, motorists are no longer going to pay tolls. And as contained in the statement that we saw from the Roads Ministry, security personnel, police officers here, armed police officers are actually on ground right now, ensuring that there's decorum here. Now, for persons who are not aware of this particular directive, what happens is that sometimes when they get to this point, they slow down, but two armed police officers who are there will signal them to move and continue, their journey. And that is what we saw when we were at Weja earlier in the day, at the Weja toll booth also. We saw a man who was manning the toll booth. He was actually screaming at motorists, pass, 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 pass. That was sometime around 5:30 a.m. because some motorists were not aware of the directive. Now, what this has caused here, and what we've actually also seen at the Weja toll booth, is that for hawkers or for some of the sellers here who take advantage of the situation to cash in and to do business, many of them are out of business now. As you can see, this place is currently bare without sellers. Some of the sellers who are even around are unable to do business here. Here at Accra Tema motorway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the toll booths, all of them are empty. The only people we can see here is the Ghana Police Service, armed police officers, 2 of them, signaling motorists to continue with their journey, to move and not to stop. Let's speak to some of the sellers who have been cashing in on the congestion that is created here as a result of the toll booth. Let's speak to them. Many of them are telling me that their source of livelihood now is gone because this toll booth is no longer going to function. And that is what we saw when we visited the Weja toll booth also. Hello. Yeah, you're from saying?
But your friend is Juliana.
Juliana.
Me pachai.
Okay. Yeah, Bano, Behonsana. Buku came say Yambrana and Numunkasa. I didn't.
I hear Yanni, ye, do my didi. Aheya na ye adwuma de hye yemba. Ye ni adwuma bia e wo mayimu a ye be kwa akoye. Ye ni adwuma bia e wo mayimu a ye be ye den. Ye be kwa akoye.
E dia na wo ton.
Me pa chonkosia na manu esi we. Omo se omo ma me nginem. Menim de yankoye se yankobo kro no se yankobo as. But to your master pe omo pa se yankoye den.
Okay, well, basically what she's saying is that now that they've stopped collecting the toll, what do they want them to do? What does government want them to do? Because
ya tu aba wo mayimu ohia na tu aba kasie wo mayimu ya sole ahomache na ya kwasala wanwo sikani obesole ahomache so kwasala ya tu aba mo amon ngene ye ho ye be se to aba ni biam ye be sala ye se be kwa kwasala. She says usually poor people are the ones who join queues to vote for government, and she's saying that they join the queue to vote for the government, and this is what they're getting as a reward. She thinks that a source of says your musu to be an edumati papa anyefa market he because almost ma register me kitanta form ye no sis bla me nya dan menya kunumpo inti me nya dan.
Well, she says she has twins. She cannot go to the market to sell, and she doesn't know what to do basically, and that's the concern she's raising. And her story mirrors what many of the people here are saying. Usually they'll be in the traffic selling, but that is not the case today.
If I show me the fear,
now, in the affect to say,
Bibia Montese, Abraboni, Munaya Haya. What's here? It's none and I could for their quenim Sabia back when you mukakra. Now we are quite the chamber, almost on my Medjala and Mukramanja, because Carlos to line the channel, yes, it's me, Tom Bibi, and my and Sakoyana says, I lie into your best out to Bibi. Okay,
well, what she's saying is that they make money when there's congestion here, and that's how they sell to the people who are in the vehicles and the cars paying the toll. Now that the toll booth is no longer going to function, she doesn't know how they're going to survive. Yeah, that's it. Well, she says she's a member of the New Patriotic Party, and she's a member of the New Patriotic Party, and that she thinks there's a lot of hardship, and that the governance of the country is not really going well. More of them want to talk to us. At this point, it is very difficult to speak to the motorists because many of them are going beyond 60 kilometers per hour. Like I mentioned, to get any of them to talk to us. Because there's no congestion created here. There's no congestion here. You can see that police officer standing there, signaling the vehicles to move. And that is what is happening here. Let's try and see if we can get some of the motorists to talk to them. You are not a motorist. Come. You sell. You sell here, right?
Okay. The agenda is plantain company at Watama Community 1. And to be the plantain black boys and no matter no traffic.
Yeah.
Weekends no more Jamaica. Since you have one thing, and you'll be an Enya Konya Cosco between your Benjamin yet. This is your what's up with some million to do to boot. Basing on your child, a light bay. Okay, thank you. Well, he's also raising similar concerns about their source of livelihood taken away from them because these toll booths are no longer going to function. They told us that the tolls that are collected are very insignificant, that they spend countless hours, countless productive hours in traffic just waiting, to move, and they believe strongly that scrapping the toll system would now reduce their travel time, would now reduce their commute time. Now what we saw, we used the road on both occasions. When we used it, we did not have to pay any toll. So that's the situation here at the Accra Toll Plaza. It's free for all, no payment at all. Motorists are happy, are excited. The traders and the sellers here are not happy because they say that now their source of livelihood has been taken away from them.
Right, so Enimu Enimado also visited the Kaswa toll booth, and the story is not different. The motorists are excited that they don't have to pay any tolls, and the traffic is moving very smoothly. But then the hawkers who work around that area are not so happy.
In the over 10 years since this road was constructed and this toll booth was constructed, it's an almost unprecedented scene to see cars and traffic flowing freely at this point. But this is the aftermath of the 2022 budget, where toll booths were thrown away, some would say. No more taxes at the tolls, no more collection of money at the tolls. You don't have to pay the usual 50 pesos or 1 CD at the tolls to be able to get through. And so you can see that traffic is moving so freely this morning. What's really funny though is there's some people who perhaps may have missed the budget and so are still sticking out their hands to try and pay the toll operators, the non-existent toll operators who this morning are not at post. That's been quite funny to see. But on the large, people are just driving through. A lot of cars are honking when other cars slow down. Perhaps those who don't know that they're not meant to stop and give money anymore. So this is the scene from Kasoa this morning. Free flow of traffic and an almost celebratory mode, especially from the Churchill drivers who, well, they don't have to pay money anymore, do they? So that's what's happening here. On the other side though, the usual crowd of hawkers can't really be found. If you look around, you notice that there's normally quite a good number of people who are selling, you know, drinks, bread, all sorts of things, plantain chips. We can't really find them this morning because the traffic is moving, so there's nobody to sell to really. But on the other side of the road, those who have mounted stands, so those who are selling bread and drinks and have tables, are at post. However, you would observe that actually people are not stopping to buy those things because we do a lot of convenience shopping, and so it's not convenient anymore to actually stop. We're going to go over to some of those who are selling by the roadside and talk to them, because obviously their business are going to be affected. They're not going to have as many customers because the traffic is flowing. Another question that comes up is that, is this going to generally decrease the amount of traffic on this road? So when we were driving and coming, there was still a little bit of traffic at Weija. I'm going to Malam, and for a long time we've blamed that on the toll booth. But this morning we're finding out that actually that traffic has nothing to do with the toll booth, and so we'll see if maybe as the days go by that traffic will ease and this road will become a road. At the Kasoa toll booth, and this morning the MP for the area, Mr. Sylvester Tete, is here to address concerns of the hawkers, because this is their business, this is their livelihood, and this morning there's really no one to sell to, so they've gathered here. As you can see, they seem really annoyed, not happy about the situation, but the MP is here, so we're just going to have a quick conversation with him and find out what he's doing here and what he plans to do about his constituents who are very upset this morning.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, it's usual of any human being when you are affected by a policy of government. Naturally, you react the way my constituents are reacting. I was in Parliament yesterday when the policy was introduced. Quickly, I had to make contact with them because I'm in constant contact with them, even before yesterday. Throughout the electioneering campaign, I've been here. Some of them are residents and constituents. They voted for me. So I have to come in and explain the government policy to them and announce an intervention I personally have for them in this constituency. I've announced 3 interventions that I'm going to do. We are going to do a registration of all the members here, and then I'll personally give them some soft interest-free loans, give it to them not to repay back, to support their businesses ahead of this Christmas. And then also the young ones among them, I've asked them to put their names together. I'm going to train them in a vocation of their choice. And then the third one is to liaise with the municipal assembly to create a temporary market for them or to integrate them into the existing market. I'm going to look at the cost of getting into the existing market, to liaise with the assembly, to give them time to pay. Because if you ask them to go back today and demanding money from them, they won't be able to pay. So that is the intervention, the third intervention I'm going to do for the residents here today. And I've also told them, it is not everybody selling here that is a constituent. So I'm going to take the names of everybody wherever you're coming from. I'll reach out to their members of parliament that they should also come and support me to support them. So that is something I've just discussed with them. And they know, Mr. Sylvester Tete, I've been in constant contact with them. So these are people I've worked with and I continue to enjoy their company. Anytime I get here, there's a huge market here. Some of them even give me words for free as a member of parliament. So today, when they are in this situation, I can't turn my back at them. I have to dip my hands into my pocket and come to their attention. And of course, I'm going to assess government support to support their businesses. Because this is the informal sector that supports our economy. All the wares they sell here is being produced. Some of them are produced in this constituency under one district, one factory. And for that matter, when we don't promote the sales of locally manufactured goods, obviously it affects the manufacturers and affects industrialization that we are driving so well in this country.
Okay, well, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. That was the Honourable Member of Parliament for this area. And there are lots of hawkers around. They're not happy at all. I'm not sure if some of them will speak to Muni Mebekasa. I'm hoping some of them will speak to us.
Nana Kufuadwe, Midinyamidi Pachawo, Midinyamidi Pachao, Midinawa Mikuranum, traffic him, Namidia Daka, and one of the Rangualani Suku, the Osia Juma, one of the Manisia Juma, Nasa Wimanua Dianigua, Nasminya Dia, Nana Kufuadu, Midinyamidi Pachao, Yabibi Yafamaya. Akufuadu ya pachawo ya pachao ya bibi fa homa ya wati ya srawala wadawroma wani ya nida wanim wona aka ya yie etina na bua ya srawala bua ya wai ya dinyamedi pachao bua ya ho chire ya kakra na metimi asrawano no.
Well, joining us this morning to understand the decision taken by government and how it's going to impact on road traffic, not necessarily on the hawkers who have been affected, is CEO of Top Tech Transport and Logistics, Cecil Gabra. He's joining us via Zoom. Good morning to you, Cecil.
Good morning to you, Israel.
All right. So what's your initial reaction? The fact that, well, traffic is moving very freely across the toll booths in the country?
Well, in terms of traffic, it's good news for everybody. And that is what people would like to see, because traffic is actually a big issue for all of us, that you can stay in traffic for minutes and hours at toll booths, especially certain places like Kaswa, which is very noticeable. Right? You can really stay in traffic. So for drivers, I mean, those who drive passengers, they will be very, very happy about it. It was a big shock to the nation. I don't know whether it is to satisfy Ghanaians who have become sad that things are not moving so well. But then there are other implications. And then we don't know whether we're going to have hidden taxes for maintenance of roads and then street lights, etc., because toll collection provides an accelerated mechanism for financing construction and maintenance of roads everywhere. I mean, it's far better than the normal traditional taxes, which is based on borrowing funds from other countries and maybe the IMF, etc.
All right.
So that's the issue at the moment.
Yeah.
We don't know where they're going to get money from for maintenance. But it's good news for commuters, good news for drivers, good news for the nation.
All right. So government says that, well, we're scrapping the tolls, and they looked at how much money they're earning from the tolls. They said, well, it hasn't really come to much. So they'll scrap the tolls and rather bring in the e-levy, and they're going to get a lot more money from the e-levy, which is going to be a tax on Momo transactions and electronic transfer, funds that are transferred electronically. Before we come to the implications, I want you to look at what needs to be done. Let's take the Kaswa situation specifically, and because we're learning that despite the fact that the toll booth is they're not collecting any tolls, and so traffic has eased around that area. Further on, away from that place, there's still some traffic around the Malam area. What needs to be done to address that? Because we're learning the trotro drivers have taken one lane, and so there's still some congestion around that area.
Well, definitely, traffic management is a big issue, again, in this country, right? And then, Israel, if you could agree with me, some of us have done a very good job, especially an example is Labone Junction. My team is now gone to East Legon, and we found out problems. I think we should
quickly. I want to hold that thought on the Labone Junction issue. I used the road recently. I noticed that apart from that Labone Junction U-turn that has been shut, you've also sealed another U-turn further down the road. Why did you have to seal that one? Because it's away from the Labone Junction problem.
Yes, it was all sealed on the same day because we did our survey and noticed that that U-turn was actually for those who lived around the police barracks. And then you would, during our data collection, we realized that in the whole day, you have close to about 10 to 15 vehicles turning to go down the veterinary area. Right. Now, why it was also blocked was that others who could not have access to Labone Junction felt they could, use that U-turn. There's no U-turn for them. But we noticed that during that is the survey that we did and, brought our policemen and so on, we said, okay, let's look at the free flow and see. And we noticed that people were forcibly using that no U-turn, and definitely it is also closed.
All right.
So if you live around the barracks, you have to go down to former American Embassy and make a turning. And it takes you 2 minutes drive, free drive. And this is also healthy for you as a human being, brings down the stress level. It's also healthy for your vehicle. Your vehicle must not be in traffic.
I'm not sure about the second one that you sealed, but let's go back to what you think should be done about the Kasoa area, especially the Mallam area.
Yes, honestly speaking, I haven't been there.
All right.
I saw footages, and I think I wouldn't be able to say what must be done, but it's all due to traffic management.
That's fine.
Right. If we put up a team to go and look at it, I'm sure we'll have a solution.
Sure, that's fine.
But it's all enforcement.
Yeah. So now let's look at the existing toll booths. There are all these structures that have been put up that are in the way. How quickly do we need to get rid of those ones so that we don't end up people running into them?
Well, that's also an issue. This morning I was looking at your
the Kasoa toll booth area.
Station. Yes, the Kasoa toll booth area, and I'm just imagining that could it also be left so that we'll have the police just standing there in the police presence, than destroying it, than pulling it down, okay? Because if you have the police also there, you're not going to have any normal checks as such, but at least police presence, you slow down, you're going. And that is also going to help to check armed robbers who are attacking us on the roads, right? I don't think we should pull it down. Just like I can see drivers are driving through, there must be police presence there.
But it presents a safety issue because people could run into them. I
don't think so, Israel. I mean, this is far ahead of you. You can see it in front of you. So, and just like Enimoa said on the motorway, even people are stretching their hands and they feel somebody in the toll booth. That alone is a deterrent for the drivers to behave themselves on the road.
All right.
I don't think that there's a need to pull it down. I mean, that is what I want to say now. We should use it. We could use it for the police to take absolute control of their patrols and then take care of us. That's the most important thing in Israel.
All right. So one other issue that has come up strongly is the hawkers who work around that area who are unhappy that the traffic has been eliminated because it means that they can't sell their wares to the people. I would want to believe that you look at it differently.
Definitely. This is good news. It is road safety.
Exactly.
Right. Hawkers are being knocked every now and then. So it is good news. It's time for us to really look at the idea of putting them into a job as soon as possible. Okay. Like others have made that area as a residence area. They bring all sorts of wares to come and sell. Sadly, you buy something around, and then if it is bad, you cannot see who you even bought it from. So good news for road safety, good news for the public that the hawkers must not hawk. I mean, it's really a nuisance to see hawkers around everywhere, especially the motorway also selling. So we need to get them some job to do as soon as possible, right? This will not favor everybody. Okay, what has happened will favor majority of Ghanaians, and then few people will complain like the hawkers, right? We can't have everything at 100% when there are issues like this that has been addressed in the budget. It cannot favor everybody.
Yes, sure.
So for me, it's good news for road safety, and we must really support it.
All right. Now, in having the conversation, we've looked at some of the implications of the decision. Are there any other implications that you want to look at before we go?
Still on the toll booths?
On the toll booth, yeah.
Well, I think
on the abolishing or scrapping the tolls.
Yes, my only problem is the hidden taxes where everybody.
Where you're wondering where it's going to come from.
I am not happy with it. I'm not happy with that. I think it's 1.7%, if I'm right.
1.75%.
Yeah, it is too much. It is too much, right? And then we are all going to suffer. Most of us carry our businesses on our phone, all the transactions. Now, if you're going to transact business and you're going to take off 1.75% off it, it is way above what we expected. And then this is also going to ask us to go back to the bank, and then people are going to carry bulk money. And of course, the armed robbers on the motorbike may have an advantage to attack some of us. So we need to really look at it. I think it's too much. If it's even 1.2% to start with, and later on it's being increased, that makes a lot of economic sense.
All right, thank you very much, Cecil Gabra. But as I told you, government is saying, this morning I was having a conversation with the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah, who is saying that the fact that they've scrapped the tolls on public roads does not mean that we're not going to have a situation where an investor is going to come in, build a road, and toll that road, and people are going to have to pay for that. So, well, even though public roads, we're not going to pay on that, we may end up paying on private roads.
That'll be very difficult again for Ghanaians to understand that toll booths are being constructed for us to pay. I think we need to look at other ways. But I was always praying that the toll booths that we pay could be embedded in the roadworthy certificates, that every year, maybe if it's 1% of the roadworthy certificate, the cost of it could be used as levies to maintain our roads. That will have been, fine by totally scrapping it off.
Now that you've mentioned that, government has also indicated, the finance minister indicated that the fees and levies are going to be revised. So we may end up paying a bit more for roadworthy. Those details are not out yet, but government has indicated that it's going to be revised. So we should stand by. Hopefully, you never know. So it may happen.
Hidden taxes.
All right. Thank you very much, Cecil Gabra.
You're very most welcome.
Cecil Gabra is CEO of Top Tech Logistics, and he's been talking to us about the implications of government scrapping the tolls and levies or tolls on bridges and roads.